Well, at the national level for president, I think it's going to be the economy, unless some other issue comes to the fore. I think the down ballot races and the state races and more local races, the abortion issue is going to be important in deciding outcomes. So I do agree there. The other point I wanted to make, and you made this point at the beginning about the border, the number one issue among Republicans today is immigration. And so while it might not galvanize Americans in general, it definitely energizes the Republican base and makes a complete sense, the initiative today in Congress to have that as some sort of a demand in any sort of deal.
How does that compare? As you said, it makes sense to tie something on the border to Ukraine funding. What do we know about the enthusiasm of skeptics or opponents of Ukraine aid? We talked to Governor Gilmore about where exactly the Republican Party comes down on Ukraine aid. It's a bit of a complicated answer, but I mean, is that enough to win people over, or are Republicans really moving away from foreign aid to Ukraine?
Well, at this point, Americans in general are more isolationist than they were a generation ago, and Republicans especially so. That said, I wouldn't say it's a galvanizing issue. Immigration, in my mind, for Republicans, is key, but definitely on the margins. It is. It is a change, right? It is a change relative to a generation and a half ago. It goes towards the Israel conflict as well, and Gaza. Now, it's not much as Republicans, more Democrats, but the younger generation is less interventionist than older generations.
So just to expand on the idea of public sentiment around Israel and its war with Hamas, it feels like there is more pressure, especially in certain portions of the Democratic Party, for humanitarian considerations to begin trumping that of Israel's objectives in trouncing Hamas. Is that reflected in public sentiment? Is there a shift underway in terms of support for Israel?
Yeah. So in general, just Americans in general, there's about 87% of Americans are in favor of humanitarian aid and relief. So that's not something that varies that much from party to party. I would say there is a pro-Palestinian or maybe more of an agnostic bent in the Democratic Party today, and that's especially among younger voters. The younger generation has less, I would say, linkage, less relationship with the issues in the Middle East compared to a generation or two ago. And that definitely is manifesting itself today in public opinion.